What's going on, everyone? Welcome. This is the Warehouse Series. If you're new to the channel, this is Discord Friday. This is where I take everyone's pictures off of Discord and I review them to let you know what I would do differently. If you guys are new to selecting and you just stumbled upon my channel, please scroll through my playlist. Better yet, go to my personal playlist where I have me. It says my selection videos, and you'll see me in the warehouse selecting, and I will do a voiceover letting you know why I am doing what I'm doing. And that will give you a really good idea of what warehouse selecting is like. I also have forklift videos on there as well if you guys are going in to be a forklift operator. So with that being said, guys, if you want to join Discord, link in the description below. Subscribe to the channel. I make pretty much crap on this channel, so if you guys want to help me by donating to my channel, it is very much appreciated. And if you guys want to give me a thumbs up, I used to post 3 days a week. I'm down to 1 day a week, mainly because I make nothing. It's just a lot of time for very little pay. So donations are well appreciated. Thank you. All right, guys, the first picture I'm going to show is nothing. I don't even want to go over the pallet. It's stacked very nice. So the whole reason I put this up here is because I always like to reiterate, it is so important to listen to your cube. Whether you have a headset on or you got stickers, this is probably like a 35 cube pallet. It is so important to listen to that cube, because you could have a 65 cube pallet with 20 cases and you could have a 65 cube pallet with 100 cases. And if you have a 65 cube pallet with 20 cases, you know you're getting bigger cases like paper towels and toilet paper and cereal and stuff like that. But if you know you have a smaller pallet like this, it's 40 cube. These are the orders that you make a lot of time on. Building is not as much of a concern because you only got a small pallet and you need to move through these pallets or these orders as quick as possible. So anytime you're getting a half pallet or less, those are the ones, no talking, no nothing, just say ready and get moving and get this pallet done and bank about 6, 7, 8 minutes on this, possibly even 10 minutes, depending on how fast you move. Do not mess around on these orders, all right? No talking, no, hey, whatever. You get this, you're gone, because these are the orders you make up time on. All right, the second pallet I want to look at is this one right here. There's a couple things I want to point out on here. On this front pallet right here, I do want to say that I like to keep my open boxes together, these watermelons right here, but the one case that fits perfectly on top of these watermelons are these apples right here. So every time I get an open box, I start looking for these cases and I know exactly where I want to put them. I want to put them on top of the open boxes so I can close that up and have a solid layer to stack on top of. This is exactly how I would have done it. Great job on this one. So the back pallet, I do want to point something out all the way down here with the GTs. When you get a higher corner and a lower inside, it's great, right? That's what I preach all the time. But when that higher case is a real narrow case, then it becomes a problem, because that's why we got the lean with the apples here. Also, these cases are really stubby. So I can't see the middle of this pallet, but is there a hole in the middle of your pallet? Or do you have 2 GTs and you put one in the middle as well? So I'm not 100% sure because I can't see the middle, but the only time I use GTs as a corner is if I have multiples of them. If I only have one, I stick it in the middle of the pallet. So that's all I got to say about this back pallet, but very nicely done. Thank you. Keep posting pictures. All right, this one here, I put both pallets on. I'm not sure if both of this is your work. We got one pallet turned this way, one this way, but we're going to go over this back pallet real quick. I want to point something out, guys. Look at this right here. See how we have a high and a low? And we got this case right here. Do you see the case rocking from a high to a low? No. That white case is level. You want to maintain levelness. You do not want cases leaning. Now, I'm guessing this is like freezer stuff. We got cases on their sides. I'm not 100% sure. I try to keep cases upright. I'm not in the freezer. I don't know this product, but me personally, I like to keep cases upright. But this is a very nicely built pallet. We got nice tie-ins at the top, and then onto the front one here, just constantly level, guys. Look, even right here, we got all these little boxes back here, and look, we got level with this again. Lower inside and higher outside, nice and flat. Case is pointing in. This case is not pointing in, but it is what it is. This person built a very nice pallet and very square. That is the name of the game, guys. A nice square pallet, and and not compromising the form of the pallet and breaking cases open. All right, this one I'll put on because I tell you guys all the time, it's a game of weight distribution. All right, so we got a beautiful pallet here, very nicely done. We got produce here. We have this center column. Look how it's leaning towards the right side of the pallet. So what did we do? We corrected it by putting 2 cases here, and we got this case, and this slight lean is perfect because that is enough to start bringing the weight back over towards the middle again. We want to focus on the middle of the pallet, and that's exactly what we did. We don't want our corner pushing out, so we got a couple Bullet House Farms probably, and we started putting the stuff back towards the middle of the pallet. Very nicely done. Some cases on their sides. I recommend not putting the Taylor Farms on their sides. These boxes pop open easy. But we have the tops facing inwards. See how this is the bottom of the box? So they actually did it very well. I'm sure that was on purpose. They put the top facing towards the inside of the pallet so it does not pop open. So if you're going to put cases on their sides, that's how you want to do it. Very nicely done. And like I always say, guys, if you have to use plastic pallets, then so be it. But if you could use wood, I highly recommend using blue wood. Stay away from plastic and white wood, in my opinion. All right, guys, there's a lot going on with this one. The back pallet isn't horrible. We got some crushed cases. Remember, if you select a case that's buckled on one side, just flip the buckled side towards the inside of the pallet. If both sides are buckled, then you have this in the right spot. It's in the middle of the pallet. Just put the more buckled side facing towards the inside so we're not leaning our cases out. I hope that makes sense. Just always face that buckled, whatever side's more buckled, face it towards the inside of the pallet. Looks like we have a case hanging off the back. I mean, it's not major. We're using white wood. If you can use blue wood, use blue wood, but some places require you to use white wood. The back pallet looks good. Front pallet, we got a lot of high to low crap going on. We got arrows that are pointing, that should be facing up, and they're pointing towards the side. So I always tell new selectors, anytime there's directional arrows on the box, follow the direction of the arrows. Have that case pointing up. But this white case here, if you would have just slid it over, this case would have fit more level on top of it. Even though you have it sideways, if that's the way you're throwing it, then so be it. But slide it over so this case fits more perfect. Guys, I know you put cases down. Everyone says, oh, touch cases once. But if it takes 2 seconds just to slide this case over, so this is going to fit more level and it's going to work out the rest of your pallet better than do it. Because we got a lot of just unevenness going on here. That's all. It's not a bad looking pallet. We do lean inwards. This big box in the middle, I 1000% disagree with it. It's not horrible, but I mean, we got this Smart Ones on its side and it's smashing. This stuff is frozen, so it should be fine. But yeah, I mean, not bad. I don't know if you're a newer selector or not, but it's not bad. All right, this picture right here is just, it's perfect. I mean, I'm looking at, we got a slight lean coming back off the corner here. I'm not even sure why, or maybe it's just the way the picture looks. Yeah, it's possible it's just the way the picture's taken, but what a perfectly square pallet. We got a nice base, and we continue on, and we're just tied in. I mean, even though we call them stacked from here up, guys, what do I say? So we got a column, we got a column, and we got a column, and then we use this case to tie in the top. I say all the time, guys, waist high. You get that base waist high, you can column stack the rest of your pallet, and this proves it right here. Very nicely done. Yeah, I mean, I don't see nothing wrong with this pallet. Very nicely done. All right, this one right here, another one that is very nicely done, but I want to point out a couple things. One, I do not 10 block these Gatorades for the reason of this. See how this case is sticking off the pallet? 10 blocking Gatorades is the way it comes on the pallet, these size Gatorades, but they just do not fit. So I 8 block mine. I put 3 across the front. I will space them out. I would much rather have little gaps than hanging off the side of my pallet. But the palette is beautiful. So the only thing I want to point out is that I do not 10 block these Gatorades. I 8 block them. And I never, ever, ever, ever put any type of liquid on its side. Now we did this. This is where I talk about we will be even at all costs. We want to be level at all costs. Well, this top of this box is already buckling because it's on its side, and the box's tops are not meant to be on their sides. They're meant to be upright like these. That's why these cases are not buckling, and there is weight on top of it. But when you do this, they buckle, and I disagree with it. So what if you build this and your one side's going to be a little higher than the other and it's not level? Who cares? All right. It's all about getting the cases there intact. And it's possible that this case, because these cartons in there, they smash. I mean, and no one's buying a carton that's smashed like this, you know, so that case right there, It's possible they don't even sell the contents in there by the time it gets to the store because those cartons are going to be smashed in there. So just, yeah, keep cases upright, guys, especially liquid. All right, I wanted to put this one on here because, boy, oh boys, this is exactly how a produce pallet should be stacked. Guys, when I say column stack produce, these are the boxes that you can get away with column stacking them. You notice how we didn't take our yams or whatever these are and spread them all over the pallet? No, we kept them together. We just column stacked the stuff right up. Just perfectly done. I really like this, and I just want to throw it on there because when we say column stack produce, this is the product that you can column stack with to the T. And we still took an opportunity to tie in with these apples or whatever these are. So even though we column stacked, what, 4 high, we tied in by doing this, and this is tying in, guys. All right, see how we keep going the same direction? We didn't switch to go the opposite direction because look, we got a column stack here. So let's take this apple and turn it this way. Well, you're putting more pressure on the corner. When you keep the cases facing in, especially when they are bigger. So this apple coming onto this column right here is tying in. And people do not get that. Like I said, everyone thinks this is tying in. I got to constantly switch cases. No, I would build this the same exact way. This is a beautiful palette. Thank you for posting this and keep up the good work. All right, so the next pictures I'm going to get to are ones that we had someone take pictures of, and I'm just like so over these breaker pallets. Before I get to these next couple pallets, I want to tell you, I'm not even joking. In our produce and dry warehouse, I have used one breaker pallet, and I was like, no need for it. I could build perfectly fine without the breaker pallet. Also, breaker pallets damage a lot of cases. As you can see, last Discord Friday, I showed you about the grapes being smashed. And then probably in the last 3 years, I've seen one person use a breaker pallet at my warehouse. We do not train to use breaker pallets, and we do not use breaker pallets. I'd say less than 1% of the orders, not selectors, less than 1% of the orders per year get a breaker pallet by a selector. We do not use them, and I think you guys just get a little too carried away with them. What am I talking about? We're going to look at the first one right here. First of all, I don't even know if this is the same person, or maybe a forklift topped this up to just put that stuff up there. But guys, once again, what do I say time and time and time again? And every time I say it, it proves me right. When you put cases like this in this part of the pallet, you force yourself to have a small corner. All right? I prove myself right every single time. These apples should be facing towards the middle of the pallet, and these celeries should be maybe on the other side. And then you won't even need this stupid pallet up here with this stuff here. Guys, stop. This is front to back building, walk in your cases. We build this and then we just, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Face cases towards the middle of the pallet. All right. Stop doing this, please. And stop using breaker pallets when you don't have to. If you build the pallet right, you don't need to do this crap up here. All right. Once again, guys, another one. I talked about this on last Friday these watermelons, stack them. We got 4, 5, 6 watermelons. Guess what I would do? 3 and 3 right up the side of my pallet. Guess what we're going to be able to stack on the other side of the pallet? The rest of the freaking pallet. Please stop with these stupid breaker pallets, because you're so used to, it's like the slip sheets. You guys are so used to using breaker pallets that you plan on them no matter what. This is just insane. Like, come on. 3 watermelon leaves a whole side of your freaking pallet open to stack all this stuff. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I can't stand it. All right, guys, in this last picture I'm going to show, honestly, this person should be fired. And honestly, they should just quit because they have no respect for the job. This is just dumb. All right, just straight stupid. Not only are we using a piece of whitewood that's absolutely broken, so what do you think's going to happen? It's going to dig right into the cases, but we put these Danimals down here and then we smash the crap out of them. When you have no respect, no regard to what happens to the product on the pallet, quit. All right, do us all a favor and quit, because this is just ridiculous. If I was a supervisor walking down the dock, this person would be called into my office and terminated immediately. I mean, you guys would hate me as a supervisor. This person wouldn't even get a warning. I would terminate them for this immediately because this is just so dumb, so ridiculous, so lazy. I just don't get it. Guys, the only time you should be using a breaker pallet is for contaminant stuff. Now, we got eggs up here. Should they get a breaker pallet? Probably, yes. But to do it at this is ridiculous. I would rather use a slip sheet and put the eggs. In my opinion, if the warehouse has you selecting from this way and these eggs are last, then you do what you need to do to get the product out. You either not put a slip sheet on because we have eggs first. That way we are not, because if an egg case gets broken open and starts leaking, well, all of these got to get thrown away. So eggs should not be on top of anything. So this is a warehouse issue, in my opinion. But this is just ridiculous to force somebody to use a breaker pallet to put eggs on if this is the requirement for this warehouse. But this is just insane. I'm going to retract a little bit here because this just irritates me. If the warehouse requires a breaker pallet for eggs, then this is a warehouse issue. If they do not, then this is insane. This is just ridiculous to break these cases like this. But this should not be last. Eggs should not be going on top of anything. It should be eggs and then maybe yogurt and stuff like that. Cheese boxes, lighter stuff, like our warehouse has it. But it's just insane. I don't know. I don't understand how you could think this is okay. But the person who posts these pictures, there is so many breaker pallets busting stuff up in this warehouse. This warehouse is just, it's just crazy how much stuff that he posts of product being broken by breaker pallets. Stop using breaker pallets, learn to build the pallets. All right, guys, that's it. I just think sometimes selectors just way overcomplicate the job. You make the job a lot harder than it is. You think putting a breaker pallet on is making your job easier, and it might be making your job harder. That's why I stress to my trainees nonstop. Stop thinking about your standard time in the first probation weeks of whatever it is, 8, 12 weeks, and please focus on building your pallet. When you learn how to build the pallet, your times will come. If you worry about your times and not how to build your pallet, you're never going to get it. You're never going to get it, and you're probably not going to make it. That's it for today, guys. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. I'll see you guys next time. If you have any questions or comments, leave it below, and I will get back to you.